Well, hi everybody. This is DearMamaSal, and we're live on a Friday evening here in southern British Columbia, in Canada. Just to let you know that if I look a little hot and bothered, it's because I am, and the reason is that it is close to 100 degrees here. I know that's hard to believe when I live in igloo country, but I just want to see what the temperature is in my greenhouse window. Hold on a sec. Oh yeah. So the temperature is 97 Fahrenheit, and just for those of you who speak uh, centigrade, it is 36. But they're saying it feels like 100. Although the actual temperature is 97.5, in fact, it actually feels like 100, or so the weather person says. So I am a little bit hot and bothered. So here's what we're going to do today. We're going to do some leftover meals in a mason jar. And today we're going to do a broccoli, cauliflower, brie bake. Broccoli, cauliflower, and brie cheese bake. And then we're also going to do a beef fried rice and some chocolate dipped fruit. But before I do that, please let me get cool. And I'm going to make, my version of the dough whip, which is I'm just going to take some dough pineapple and put some of the juice in there, put some of the pineapple bits in there. Oh gosh, put the whole lot in there, what the heck. And now I'm just going to quickly whip that up. So just bear with me while I do that. I'm going to take it away to do that because otherwise it's too noisy. Hold on a second. Okay, and now I'm just going to add some more ice cubes on top. Rinse that off. And how easy was that? Okay, so there we go. Oh, you have no idea how much I need that. So here's the story around what we're cooking today. Yes, and when was it? Wednesday. I had a couple of neighbors over for a barbecue. And that's the first time since I arrived here that I've actually got settled enough that I put on the barbecue and cooked with it. And I cooked spare ribs. And I cooked more spare ribs than I needed. And you know why? Because I like to meal prep. If I'm going to cook, I want to cook more than just the meal I'm cooking. So I meal prepped, and I ended up with quite a few pieces of beef spare rib left over. And they stayed on a little bit longer than I would have liked. So I wasn't worried. I don't know. Hi, Ange. Good to see you. Wow. Anyway, so I wasn't worried because I knew that I would use up the meat. So really what has happened here, the beef got cooked, and if anything, it just got a little dry, right? Because it stayed on the barbecue while we were eating. And I also cooked, just so you know, some corn. Do you all know how to cut corn in half easily? If you got a corn on the cob, like these. Do you know how to cut it in half easily? If not, all you need to do is take a sharp knife. Take a sharp knife and just put it Yeah, you can see it. Put it on the cob and just press down hard on it. Okay? You don't have to go through the center. You just need to press down hard on it. And if you do that, you can bend it and it'll break immediately. Just want to let you know. So I did corn on the cob. I made homemade coleslaw. All right, with raisins, carrots, peppers. Oh, different sorts of peppers in there. Right, so that was easy to do. And I knew if I had stuff left over there, I would eat it. I did some warmed up maple baked beans, and I had some left over. And I did some beetroot. How many of you eat beetroot? And do you know why it's a good thing to eat it? Do you call it beets in the States, Jody? For those of you who don't know, Jody is our admin, and she informs me of all things American. Do you guys call it beets rather than beetroot? What feeling you do? Anyway, the reason it's a good idea to eat it is it's full of iron. And therefore very good for you. However, it's not good to eat too much. The other thing I would like to say is for those of you who like feta cheese, mix feta cheese and beets together, and that is such a nice salad. All right, so I'm going to put these back in my fridge just while we do the next bit. But I wanted to show you some of what I cooked so that you could see what I'm about to use up. Now, Jody will tell you that one of the things that I talk about is eat the rainbow. All right, so eat as many colors as you can. And that meal ended up being multicolored. I forgot to put the meat away. Hold on a sec. So what I did was that I took one small little rib, a section, maybe 3 or 4 beef ribs, 3 ribs, I think. And as you heard, it was fairly well cooked. Now, what is the best part of any barbecue? How many of you are going, it's the crunchy stuff? And so think about it. I ended up with well-cooked meat and the crunchy stuff together. And I thought, I'm not going to waste that. So what I did was I took the meat off the bone and then I pulverized it in my magic bullet. I've added in here some baked beans that were left over and also some tomatoes that were left over from the meal. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cook some brown rice and also some mixed vegetables. See about eat the rainbow? See all the colors in there? Now, what I'm going to do is while we're chit-chatting, I'm going to let these cook in the oven in the mason jars. Right? So I'm going to take, first of all, I don't need to add any liquid to this because these vegetables were frozen. But I am going to add liquid to this. And if you look, that's 1/3 of a cup only in there. And I'm going to put about another cup on top of it. Okay. Got it? Now, not what you call rocket science, not very difficult. Actually, I think I might, let me see how much liquid is there. There is enough liquid. All right, so what I'm going to do is put the lid on, but not tightly, okay? Because what I want this to do is to cook within there and steam within there. And the same with this. So don't put the lids on tightly. And we're going to put them over here. forgot to put this in with the meat. I am going to put in some Montreal steak spice. If you've never had it, it's a really great combo. And it's the one thing with garlic in it. It's got dried garlic in it that I can actually eat. So, that's good. So that's, there we go. Now, there was one other thing in here that I wanted to tell you about, and that is, I tell you what, I'm going to whip this all up, and then I will tell you what it was about. I think I'm going to add just a little liquid in here. There we go. Okay, so in here I've got the meat, tomatoes, maple baked beans. What else did I say? Montreal steak spice. So I'm just gonna warm this up, all right? It's fresh garlic that I can't eat. I can take a little bit of garlic that is not fresh, dehydrated, as long as it's not the top ingredient. Does that make sense, Shirley? When I look at stuff, if it says this, and dehydrated garlic, I'm okay. So this says salts, spices, dehydrated garlic is halfway down. All right. So I don't use a lot, but I can take it. All right. So there we go. I'm going to put all that in. And we just need this to warm up. All right. So again, I'm going to put a lid on it and then loosely put the rim on. There we go. It's ready to go. And the other thing we're going to cook, because we're multitasking here, is we're going to cook some macaroni, 1/3 of a cup. Remember the portion control, right? 1/3 of a cup is fine for me. And I'm going to put in about another cup of water. Same thing. Put the lid on loosely. I put it on loosely so the steam can escape. Sounds so easy when you say it, so okay, there we go. Okay, so that's on loosely. And then again, I've got some broccoli and cauliflower in here, and a loose lid thing. And I've got brie cheese for later. And I've got my lemon pepper mix in here, and I'm going to put that in with the, it smells so good. And now, the really difficult bit, I'm going to put it all in the oven. Got the oven set at 350 Fahrenheit. That's about 175, give or take, in Celsius. So I'm just going to put it all in there. How hard was that? Alexa, 30-minute warning. Alexa, 30-minute alarm. It's so useful. So think about this. I've got leftovers, and I've still got leftovers left after I've done this. So I already, these ribs already fed 4 people. And now I actually had some ribs for lunch today. And I'm now going to make another couple of meals just out of the leftovers. And I've still got plenty of leftovers. So again, what I'm trying to show you is if you're smart, you can end up cooking once or twice a week. And, just add things to the base of whatever you've cooked. And as you know, I'm a great believer. I didn't buy one thing of ribs. I bought 2. All right. So, and I cooked 2 at the same time. Why? Think about the cost of electricity. I have an electric barbecue. So I only needed to turn the barbecue on once and cook the same amount of time one time. Now, I'm using the big oven, but I would normally not use the big oven. I would normally use my toaster oven or my halogen oven. And so I just wanted to get you to think about that. I'm using the big oven because it is so hot. There is no way I want to be near it. So I've got between me and that oven, I've got a fan blowing on me because I don't have air conditioning. All right, now then, how many of you have got one of these hidden away somewhere in your house? A fondue pot. Anybody? Do any of you have a fondue pot? Jody's saying you're having delicious meals. Okay. Something, Jody? I believe in eating well on my own. All right. Yes, Jody's saying she has one, probably 2 or 3. Now, some of you are going to say, I haven't got one, Sal, in which case, not a problem. I'm going to show you how to do it anyway. But when I had the people over for dinner, I put chocolate in here. In fact, I had 2 of them going, one with white chocolate and the other with salted caramel chocolate. Which would you prefer? And this is a great time of year to bring out the fondue pot because I find that, doing something like this, we very rarely use our fondue pots. And, it's such fun. Yeah, Jody wants the salted caramel. All right, so I can do both. Now, I've got my chocolate melting in my solar oven, as I call it, in my greenhouse window. I've got both the salted and the white melting there. But in the meantime, I'm going to cut up some fruit. Now, Jody's saying, I meant salted caramel, please. Very nicely corrected, Jody. I'm just taking out some melon, some orange, and some grapes. I do have some apple. You understand? What else could you do? What other fruit would you dip in chocolate? And you're going, any fruit. Kiwi would be good. Nectarines would be good. Mandarins would be good. Plums would be, almost any fruit at this time of the year is good. So I'm just going to cut up some. So that we all right, now the way, I don't know how you guys do this when you're cutting up for this sort of thing, but I just literally cut the rind off. All right, I don't peel it. I slice it and then cut the rind off. So then you end up with this. Okay. And you put it there. Good. I'm going to put that on the plate. And we'll put the peel away. It's a peeling. Okay. And now let's do some melon. I do the same thing with melon. You know, melon always has the seeds in the center. So I don't worry about that. What I do is I cut a slice. Not very evenly, apparently. I cut the rind off. Okay. And then I cut the melon away from the center section. So just like that, like that, like that. And there we have melon. Put that away. Oh, this chunk. And then I'm also going to do some watermelon. Same thing. Cut a slice of it. By the way, I always like to keep watermelon upside down in something so it can drain. Oh, Jodie's suggesting apricots, or apricots, I think you call them. Apricots and figs. Yes, very good idea. If you're doing things like apple, make sure that you soak the apple in lemon juice so it doesn't go brown. All right, before you work with it. Yeah, cut it up and then put it in water with lemon juice in it. Okay, and so now I'm just going to cut that. Very good. It's very good because it's nice and cool. Okay, I want to put this away. Oh, and I've got some grapes here. Okay. Now then, this is nothing fancy. although it did look fancy yesterday or Wednesday. For the salted caramel, I just got some regular Hershey's Trippets, the salted caramel side, and I used, as you can see, about half a bag. And what I'm using today is leftover from that. And just sitting in my window there, it literally did exactly what I wanted it to do. Can you believe that? I'm going to add a little bit of coconut oil. Anybody know why? Just going to put a little bit of coconut oil in there. Smooth melting, yeah. And by the way, it was solid. I just put this in the window as well, and it just became liquid. The other thing is when you mix it in with chocolate, when I put it in the cold of my fridge, hopefully it will help it solidify more quickly. Okay, so there we go. Pretty simple. It makes it glossy too. Thank you, Jody. All right, so that's the salted, and this is the Belgian chocolate that Jody loves. And I'm going to do the same thing, add a little bit of, I'm adding about a teaspoon. Now, if you wanted to, you could obviously add other things to the chocolate. You could add cinnamon or, all sorts of awesome things. But what you basically want is a liquid chocolate. Now, if this is winter, we do it a totally different way, but this is summer. And how many of you know what I'm going to do with these forks? Right. Oh, good idea. Kez is saying, what about mango, pineapples, berries, strawberries? How did we forget strawberries? Oh, how about fresh coconut? What a brilliant idea, Kez. Okay. Now, you do know I'm going to eat all of this, so the fact I'm going to use the same forks to dip with is not a problem, right? Because only I am going to eat them. So all I'm going to do is just take a tray. That I've got a metal tray because it'll help get it cold quickly. And I'm literally going to take a piece of watermelon, dunk it in the chocolate, and drop it in. And I can take some orange, dunk it in the chocolate. So good. So don't get too fussy about this. Now, what I did for my guests on Wednesday was I asked them to put the chocolate on a plate and then dunk their fruit into the chocolate on their plate, not into the main chocolate area. All right, because I think double dipping is not a good thing these days. All right, so what else have I got here? What about a grape or two? Okay, great, and I'm going to do that in the salted caramel. Oh, it's for you, Jody. I know you can't eat it, but I just want you to know I'm thinking of you. And I will only eat the salted caramels just because I know you want me to. Okay, so again, and let's do some salted caramel watermelon. Okay, and some cantaloupe. What about a bit of both? I've got some salted caramel on this side, and I'm going to put some white chocolate on the other. Well, that'll be good. Got my name on it. Now you will notice that I'm not getting too fussy about doing this so it looks exquisite, because this is for me. But some of you will probably pour it over beautifully and make it look wonderful. I found out that whether it looks beautiful or not, I have to tell you it tastes just as good from my experience. Any questions about what I'm doing here before? Oh. By the way, it tastes really good if it's not solid as well. I only do this to taste test for you. You know that. Okay. So now I'm just going to put this in the fridge. Now, some of you might want to do this in a presentation style, in which case I would recommend using using small ice cube things, all right, and put some of the chocolate in first, then the fruit, and then drizzle. Let me do one of those. I think I've got enough there. I'm going to do this with okay, you take a little bit of the white chocolate, put it in first. Okay. And then I'm going to put a little bit of the orange in there. And then I'm going to take what's left of the caramel, salted caramel, not quite enough. Right, this is a multifunctional one. Okay, so chocolate first, then I put the orange, and then I filled with some more chocolate. I'm going to put this in the fridge as well. It might not freeze up in time, but I wanted you to get the idea. I don't know what a tens unit is, Jody, so if I don't, maybe other people don't either. Oh, hi there, Bernice. I'm sorry to hear that your back went out. Oh, a tens unit is something to do with an... Okay, you guys better tell me what it is. So I have a little bit of chocolate left. How would I melt chocolate in the winter? That would be the question when I haven't got my solar oven here. In the winter, I would put it in a double cooker. In other words, one container inside another saucepan. Bain-marie, just put water in one saucepan, put a smaller saucepan inside, and then the heat of the water melt the chocolate. Another good way to do it is in the microwave, but in the microwave you have to be really careful. Do it in sort of 20-second increments, no more. And it is melted before you think it is. Okay. And this Belgian chocolate is really good. All right, a tens unit is an electric machine. Benji says it gives some electric shock, but mild, to help stimulate the muscles. Yes, I know what it is now. Thank you. They used to use that to help you lose weight as well. Okay, that's good. All right, so I'm going to put the rest of this fruit away because otherwise I'll just sit and eat it. So my question is, when did you last have a fondue, a chocolate fondue? When did you last have one? I haven't met many people that don't like that. You know, I'm not joking. When I, came out with the fondue pot, and everybody said, "What are we having?" I said, "Chocolate fondue." So, people, chocolate strawberries are wonderful. I really recommend chocolate strawberries. And also they're nice and easy to dip and put aside. So I would suggest, how difficult was that? And even in this weather, I want to tell you this half bag is just about melted on its own. Any questions? You've never had any type. Okay. So you understand you don't have to have the fancy machine. You can do it a different way. All right. When I say it's not a fancy machine, it is just literally a bowl over a tea light. But you can just make your own sort of frame thing, that you can put it on if you want to. And if you haven't got one of these and you want one, I think almost any garage sale you go to will have one. And they'll be happy to give it to you. Because like Jody, most people have got 2 or 3. Why? It's a well-known wedding gift. Bowl over the stovetop, yes. I would have one bowl, as I said, steaming, and then another bowl. I would almost turn. Hang on a second, let me demonstrate that. The trick is to have one bowl inside another. So this will be the wrong side. So I would have water in one and then put the other one on top of it, like that. And maybe have my container with the chocolate in here, right? So don't put the chocolate directly onto the heat source. Double boiler, yes, or a bain-marie, whatever you want to call it. So what I want to do, though, is show you, because not everybody knows what it is. And only those of you that do a lot of cooking know what it is. So we don't want people to feel stupid. Well, no more than I am. Good idea, son. All right. That's amazing how that just melted completely. My joy on Wednesday was people's reaction to having a chocolate fondue. And I also noticed that it's what I call great finger food. All right. Kez is saying she's seen on TV shows, the chocolate fountain. How many of you have seen that? I want to tell you something that, if you are somebody that is a caterer, it's a good idea to have one of those. But the amount of chocolate you would need to feed that, Kez, would be expensive if you want good chocolate. And And when you think about it, just one pack of this is about, Jody, what are triplets and how much do they cost in the States? I think this cost me about $6 in Canadian. And I'm happy to spend $6 for a dessert, that's for sure. But, just know that if you have one of those chocolate fountains, it takes a lot of chocolate to create that. So be aware. Now, as I said, if you've got a big family and your gatherings are 20, 30 people at a time, not a problem. But if you have 3 or 4 people, or maybe 6, I would say you'd waste an awful lot of chocolate. Just my feeling. So the interesting thing to me was everybody's reaction, as I said. People went, oh, chocolate fondue? Really? And it was as though I had slaved for hours in the kitchen, which of course I hadn't. But they felt like I had. And that's always a good feeling for your guests to have. You know what I mean? And the other thing was it went very quiet. You know what I mean? People were spooning the chocolate onto their plates, and then nobody said a lot for about 15 minutes, I don't think. 15, maybe 20 minutes. There was sort of grunts and, oh, this is good, and stuff like that. But, there wasn't any real conversation going on because we were all eating the fruit. For those of you who have children or grandchildren, great way to get them to eat fruit. And chocolate is not nearly as bad for you as you may think. And these sort of baking chocolate, what's the sugar? So they're saying for every tablespoon, it has 9 grams of sugar. And I'm pretty sure that the sugar is not real sugar. So if you think about it, it's it's not a major. 2 tablespoons is quite a lot of chocolate. I would think that most bits of fruit have got maybe at most 2 teaspoons. Is that a tablespoon? Or is 4 teaspoons a tablespoon? I never remember that one. I have to remember. But what I'm saying is it's not as bad for you as you may think. And it certainly is indulgent. It tastes so good. Right. Now, Kez is saying you can also make a cheese fondue. And that is a really nice thing to make as well. Make a bechamel type sauce. And you can use all sorts of different cheeses. 3 teaspoons to a tablespoon. Thanks, Jody. You save me all the time. I was close. I had a feeling it was around 2 or something. So Kez, yes. And if you make cheese fondue, lots of recipes online. So then what do you dip in cheese fondue? Really nice with homemade bread or any sort of bread. Quite honestly, dunking bread into a cheese fondue mix is just wonderful. I love, you can also, again, put vegetables, instead of just serving regular vegetables, serve cooked steamed vegetables and then, use the fondue pot to drizzle them. That's a good idea. Jody's saying pretzels with cheese fondue are good. I would also say that for those of you who haven't done it, how many of you like to do meat fondue? And meat fondue is a little bit more evolved, where you actually have oil in the bowl rather than chocolate or cheese. And then you get your piece of meat and you have it on a stick and you put it in the boiling, not boiling oil because that's a fire hazard, but you have the oil at a pretty good temperature. And that's a really good thing because everybody gets their meat the way they want it. So if you're somebody that likes your meat burned, then you can leave it in the oil until it's just about burned, right? If you're somebody that likes your meat pretty rare, you're going to make sure that after you've cooked 1 or 2, you're going to know exactly how long to leave it in there. And you get meat exactly the way you want it. And again, Alexa, stop. time to get things out of the oven. But it's a really nice way to, very, very nice for a small group of people. You can do dessert cheese. Okay, Kez, I don't think I've ever done it with dessert cheese. For example, what cheese would you call a dessert cheese? Like cream cheese? Would you consider that a dessert cheese? I'm going to get stuff out of the oven. No. Now, the meat is fine because that warmed nicely. The vegetables are okay. But you can see we still need a bit of action on the pasta and the rice. All right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to speed this up a bit. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour that into a different container. So basically leave these in for about 3/4 of an hour. But I want to just speed that up a bit for you. They're both just about there, but it was not enough. And I just put it in the microwave for another couple of minutes to see how it goes. And then let's do the same with this one. Chocolate. And this one is nearly done, so I'm going to leave it in there. Hi, Daniel. Good to see you. Wow. Oh, Isabel. Isabel. Good to see you. I'm so happy to hear that you're visiting your dad and that you're visiting us at the same time. Redster, hi. Um, Redster, have we met before? Or is it your first visit? And if so, welcome. All right. So, I always forget that brown rice takes way longer to cook than white rice. But we will be patient. Give it a bit more time. While we're waiting for that, brie cheese. You can use any cheese that you want. Brie or camembert are particularly good with pasta. And you might wonder, do I include the rind? That's what I'm going to call it. All right, these sort of cheeses have a rind on the outside. Um, yes, absolutely. You can use the rind on almost any cheese except for the ones that have got the red wax on them. And I would not recommend the rind of Parmesan. You know, that's a very hard cheese, and the rind of that is not very nice. But on these soft cheeses, it's perfectly all right to actually cook the rind as well. Okay, bye, Benji. It's good to see you. Now you will see that what I did was I rinsed the macaroni. I don't know about you guys, but I like to rinse off as much of the starch as I can. All right, because it's not the starch that I want to be eating. So, you've got a quarter of a cup of dry macaroni makes about half a cup of cooked. Roughly doubles in size. We're going to add the broccoli and cauliflower. Oh, and by the way, I also put leeks in here, spring, young leeks. I grow my own leeks in the garden. So a leek is like a giant chive. I think that's the easiest way to describe it. So I'm going to pop all of that in. There we go. And then Mix that up a little bit. And then I'm going to put some brie. Now I'm using a fairly decent slice of brie, but I'm just going to break it up a bit to put it in there. Put some add some black pepper to it. And now I'm going to mix it up. Now if the vegetables are not hot enough to melt the cheese, then just literally put it in to the microwave for a couple of, I would say for 30 seconds would be enough. But I don't know if you can see, the brie actually melted as I just, mushed it around. And there you have a very simple, what would you say that is? About just over a cup of a little bit of macaroni, some vegetables, the broccoli and the cauliflower and the leeks, and then, with the brie cheese on top. So the question is, how does it taste? It's hot. By accident, I did this really well. The cauliflower is just done enough to be cooked, but still a little crunchy. I don't know about you, but I love that. Nothing wrong with that at all. Now, one thing to be aware of, if you're on a low sodium diet, brie cheese is pretty heavy in sodium. But you can probably see that it's not altogether bad. Not bad for leftovers. Let's try the second one. Okay, so now the rice is done. And what we're going to do I would recommend putting the bits in layers, all right? So I'm going to put in some of the rice. And I find brown rice isn't as starchy as white. And then some of the vegetables. Some of the meat mixture that we have. More of the rice. hot for me to hold. Well, I've still got a bit of the meat left, and that's not a problem. I will probably mix it in with the rest of this. But what I would recommend here is not to waste any of it. Yep, that tastes good. So you can see I've got it layered, right? And I'm just going to take one slice of cheese. And just break that up on top. By the way, I freeze my cheese slices. I don't know about you lot. And then I'll just put it in so that it'll melt the cheese. And seriously, how easy was that? All right, Kez is saying, do you think you could dip cooked potato in a salted caramel, since Ben & Jerry's has salted caramel with potato chip ice cream? Yeah, I think you can do whatever you like. You're an adult. And the one way I believe is try it and see what you think. I think Ben & Jerry's put out competitions, ask people what combinations would they like to have. By the way, do you all want to laugh? When Yvonne was here on Monday, I was busy cooking. And you know how you sort of go like this, while you're cooking? I went like that and I threw it right over right over my shoulder onto the floor. And I just stood there and went, oh, that was good. Yeah, it was very impressive. So again, you don't have to take it out of its mason jar. And you're probably wondering, why is there an elastic band around itself? That's because I normally use these jars for my sourdough. Long story, but the elastic bands stay on there. But you understand, you actually don't need to dirty a plate. You can eat it straight out of the mason jar. You can also take this, put the lid back on, let it cool, and then freeze it as a complete meal. And let's not forget that what we started with was leftovers from another meal. And so this was excellent. I would definitely do that again. This, I tasted the meat. The meat section was the important component here. And if you remember, this was meat, beef. I didn't tell you the one thing I put in here, which was when I was marinating the spare ribs. Let me talk about that for a second. The way I did my spare ribs was on Tuesday, the day before the get-together, I put the spare ribs into my slow cooker and cooked them so that most of the extra fat would come off. I wonder if that makes sense to everybody. Because spare ribs, by virtue of where they are, they contain a lot of fat. So I don't want to, create heart attacks on people. So what I did was I pre-cooked them to get rid of a lot of that fat. So I cooked them in water so the fat would rise to the top. And then here's what I did. I took the ribs out and let them cool. But whilst that was happening, I siphoned off the top layer of fat and then took the rest of the liquid that was left in there. And let me show you what I did. So I froze it. So each one of these is now beef stock to go in a soup. Clever? I didn't waste the liquid that the spare ribs were in. I just want to return this. And then what I did was I left them in the fridge overnight in a plastic bag. And on Wednesday, that was the day that I was going to serve them, I put them back, I cleaned the slow cooker up, and then I put layers of all sorts of good stuff into the slow cooker. I don't know what you use, but me, it's like, let me open up my fridge and let me see what do I have. And I put in definitely tomato sauce, HP sauce, I put in soy sauce, I put in little bit of plum sauce or sweet and sour, if that's what you've got. I just put in, also a little bit of brown sugar. Anyway, anything I could find that I thought would make it tasty. Oh, a little bit of hot sauce went in. And then I slow cooked them for 4 hours. What do you think? Then, just about an hour before my guests arrived, I fired up the barbecue, and then I put them on the barbecue. Just for that last half hour. It took me half an hour to warm up the barbecue properly, and then I just put them on the barbecue for that last half hour. I want to tell you, they were so tasty. They were finger-licking good, you know what I mean? And as you can probably imagine, because of the way that they've been cooked, the meat just fell off the bone. It was just like the meat just fell off. And, again, there wasn't a lot of talking while we were eating them because everybody was going back for seconds. Not an expensive cut of meat, but if you do it right, a very tasty. And that's one of the things. How do you make the less expensive cuts of meat very tasty? Slow cooking is a good way. So I'm going to put the lid back on here and let it cool. And as it cools, it's going to suck in the top. And actually, I'm not going to tighten it up too much at the moment. But when it does that, once it sucks in the top, which it will do, I will then tighten it up. And that'll be a bit later on. And then I'm going to have what's left of these two for my dinner. With fruit to follow. Right, so now then. I'm not sure if the fruit will be, the chocolate will be solid or not, but there's one way to find out. This bit is. So, here we go, a bit more. It's just a great taste. A really good taste. And that is the single piece of orange. It needed a little bit more, but the top of it was solidified. The underneath wasn't. It's going to taste just as good. I would recommend leaving them in for a few hours. Well, Jody is saying delicious and healthy. I am finding that, I can have these things if I get smart. Right? And when I say if I get smart, obviously I don't have fruit and chocolate every day. But it's definitely in my ability to have it. And to me, as you know, I am constantly looking for what can I eat, not what can't I eat. Now see, this chocolate did quite well. I'm going to put them back in the fridge so they can finish solidifying. Yeah, a minute. I'm hoping better than a bag of cookies. You're absolutely right. And, one of the things that I said to myself is if I make it from scratch, I'm allowed to eat it. If that makes any sense. If I make it from scratch, then I'm allowed to eat it. Because I control what sugar goes in, whether I use real sugar or stevia or something. I control a lot of the ingredients when I make it myself. Yes, Jody's saying those silicone ice trays are so handy. I must admit that, you know what else I use them for, Jody? The other day I had for some reason, and I can't remember why, to open a can of condensed milk. And what I did was I actually poured the rest of the condensed milk into the tray. And only to find out that condensed milk does not freeze. Did you know that? But I was hoping to make little ice cubes of condensed milk so that I could use it occasionally. And then I found out it doesn't freeze. And I would think the reason is because it's all sugar, but I could be wrong. If anybody knows why condensed milk doesn't freeze, in fact, Jody, could you just type that in and see what we get back? Why does condensed milk not freeze? So it was in the freezer, big freezer for, yeah, that's what I thought, the sugar. But it was in there for a week and it didn't freeze at all. So unfortunately, I then had to eat it. But here is the good news. Because it was already in the little container, I had maybe half in each of these cubes. what I did was every night I allowed myself one little bit until I used it up, which was also a treat. And by the way, it didn't spike my blood sugar either because it was just a little bit. So, when I felt like, oh, I could really do with something sweet, I allowed myself to have, it was probably half a teaspoon at a time, but it tasted so good. And there we have it. I'm hoping that you will see that with very little meat, I managed to make 2 more meals, and that the meat was left over and overcooked. And here was the one thing I keep trying to get to. What I put in here that you didn't see was when I put all those different sauces and things in to actually cook the ribs on the day that I served them. So that was like a really rich marinade that I cooked them in. Normally, I would have taken the ribs out and put them on the barbecue and thrown the sauce away. I didn't. I put it into muffin liners, things like this. I put them in silicone muffin liners in a muffin tin, and I froze it. And so today, when I saw that the meat was dry, I went, I already have the answer to that. And I just took out 1 puck, from the freezer and put it in here. And the taste of it is just wonderful. Why? It had all those ingredients in it. And I didn't need to add anything. When I tasted it, I went, that was a surprise. It tastes really good. I didn't expect it to taste that good. But remember, I had meat. I had charred bits from the barbecue. I had a puck of really rich gravy, if you like, the sauce. So it made a really substantial meal. Taste. And I cooked. I cooked the spare ribs. But that's, I did a bit today. But normally I would just cook what I needed for the day. All right. So in other words, I would say, I think I will have pasta. And that's what I do, by the way. I think I'll have pasta tonight. What do I know? I can have a cup of pasta that's dry and cook it up. And then I decide what I'm going to add to it. And remember, I'm always looking that the meat will be like an addition to it, not the main part of it. So if you notice, that is pretty well spaced out between vegetables and rice and meat. They're about 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. So it is a pretty good way to do meal prep. I would recommend it. There we go. Any other questions? And my next question would be, I did say that I was going to do stuffed burgers, and I haven't done them because my freezer is full. And so I've got to wait for a while now. I may have to stop doing the cooking things because, my freezer is just getting full. But, what I will do is as soon as I got enough room, or when I'm next have people coming that I'm going to do stuffed burgers, then we will make them, and then I will freeze them ready for everybody to enjoy. Is there anything else that you would like to see me cook up? And whoever it was that asked me to do the mason jar meals, have I done enough that you feel that, you can just do whatever you like with mason jars? What I love about them is it's so much less to, because you can cook it in a mason jar, you can eat it in a mason jar if you want to. And then I could even have half of this, which is probably what will happen. I can have half of this. And I was going to do fried rice, but I didn't, right? So I could mix this all up and do like a fried rice and put some egg in there and maybe a little bit of coconut or something, or a bit more pineapple. It's amazing what you can do just to change the taste of it. And all from leftovers. Mason jar salads are a really good idea. And certainly if you are a working person, they are a very smart way to take some salad to work every day. I must admit, when I was working, I used to do that. I used to take a mason jar of salad with me, and I would just line them up and just fill them up with salad ingredients, because they will. I used to do about 3 days in a row, I would say. I didn't do a full week because I was always concerned about, don't ever add cucumber. Take the cucumber separately, because cucumber just goes off in a salad very quickly, doesn't it? Is there anything else that goes off very quickly in a salad? The other thing I like to do with those mason jar meals is I always found different things to add to them. So one day I would add cranberries. Another day I'd add mandarins. Another day I would add raisins. Yeah, another day I'd add pecan nuts to it. And so every day my salad had a different crunch to it. Some days I would use the chow mein noodles to give it a bit of crunch. So very good idea, and very simple to do. So thank you for being here. I hope it inspired some of you to use up, don't throw away your leftover meat. If you have the ability to grind up meat, use your magic bullet, or, I'm lucky I got Nigel the Ninja, but, grind it up and store it, freeze it. It doesn't matter how little it is, because you can just sprinkle it over a salad, or you can, just put it wherever you want to. All right, so Kez is saying, I don't have a microwave, but what about what you can cook in there that would surprise people? Did you see me do the cupcakes, Kez? I think that surprised a lot of people from the comments I got. 2-minute cupcakes. We did that last Friday. Literally 2-minute cupcakes with no oil, just the cake mix, a little bit of cake mix and an egg, and 2 minutes in the microwave. And again, I did them in, cookie line, these cupcake liners things. I think that's pretty surprising. So you'd like to see some microwave stuff. I don't like to cook a lot in my microwave. I'll use it for a hurry, but I don't cook what I call my main meal in a microwave. That's the funny thing. How about the rest of you? How do you feel about cooking stuff in a microwave? It's not that I think that I won't, because you see me use it, but I use it as a hurry things up device rather than a cooking device. Anyway, so I will try and find some more. I did also promise to do some healthier type desserts. Yeah, Jody's saying the same thing. I mostly reheat or steam in it, she says. Yeah. So to me, it's just like, I don't know why. To me, I try not to use it too much. I believe that the jury is still out as to how beneficial that is and what it does to everything in your food. I really don't know enough about it, quite honestly. So, everybody, thank you for being here. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm going away to cool off now. I've finished my ice, and I'm going to get myself some more ice and then start cleaning up. I was saying to Jody last week, I love it. I finish the broadcast, and then what I do is I clean up in half-hour segments. I will go and sit down for half an hour, clean up for half an hour. I'll binge watch something, and watch half an hour, put it on pause, work in the kitchen for half an hour, and go back again. And by the time I go to bed, it's all cleaned up. I must admit that after the barbecue, it took me until about lunchtime the next day to finish cleaning up. I was amazed how many things I had. I think I did 3 different loads in my dishwasher, as well as a lot of hand washing of stuff. And then the cleanup was something else again, but it was worth it. This is Dear Mama Sal saying thank you for being here. remember, don't waste your food. Please don't waste your food. Kez is saying, I can't remember if you have ever made bread or baking in a slow cooker. I'd like to see that. I have never done that. Jody is an expert at that, but I certainly, that would be a nice experiment. I think that would be a nice experiment. The only thing is, Kez, how would I do that? Because by virtue of the name, it's going to be slow cooking. So would you like me to do the actual prep of it live and then maybe put pictures online later of what it looked like when it was finished? Think about that. What do you think? Because most of the slow cooker stuff literally takes 4 hours or more. The other thing I wanted to say, how many of you use your slow cooker as a warming device when you have company? I want to tell you that I met one woman and she must have had 4 different big, mine is a big slow cooker. She had about 4 of them. And the reason she had 4 of them is whenever she entertained, she put all 4 on the table and they were all plugged in, keeping food warm. Yeah, so Jody, maybe you and I together can find some fun things we can cook in a slow cooker. What I'm trying to find out, though, is from the viewers, and maybe if you're watching this on the replay, you can let us know. How would you like me to do that? You want to see the preparation? All right, so that's what I would do, but then I will take pictures, and then show the pictures later. This is what we did, but this is what it looked like when it was finished. I'm thinking things like upside down cakes and stuff like that would be really nice, right? I also hear that some people make bread. Oh, Jody, you use yours for bread as well? Interesting. I've never cooked bread in a slow cooker. That would be an experiment. And that would be an experiment where I could actually... Yeah, I think we could do this. Good idea, Kez, if it's something that you would like to see. And thank you for mentioning it, because I'm always looking for what you would like to see me do. And I hope you understand part of what I want you to see is I am not somebody who measures stuff and does all the right things. I create food that tastes good. Do you understand the difference? It's like, to me, if I forget an ingredient, it's not the end of my world. If I don't have an ingredient, it doesn't, knock me off kilter. It's just like, okay, I don't have that, but what do I have that would be tasty in there? And so I'm trying to get people to see that you can be quite an accomplished cook without being somebody that necessarily adheres to every single point of a recipe. You know why I use recipe books? To get inspired. And then I'll go and make my own way. I occasionally will look at the recipe, normally to find out what do they cook it at and for how long. But other than that, I'm inclined to make my own plan, which I hope you enjoy. This is DearMamaSal saying, I love you dearly. Remember to look after one another, but most of all, please, 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 look after yourself and know that I am going to go and have a cool shower and feel so much better. I'm getting out of this hot kitchen. Bye-bye for now.